Hey, howdy-ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast. This is episode 272. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is my good friend and co-host, The Riz. How you doing, brother man?
It is great to be with you on number 272.
272. Hey, how about that open, right? We got some good stuff going.
That was beautiful. I'm impressed. You were throwing money into the podcast. I love it.
Spending time. Is it a week off and a little bit of cat and a lot of cat? We'll get some stuff going, right?
Absolutely. We did take last week off, didn't we?
Yeah, it was for me really regenerative. I had no AC for a week.
Oh.
And if you saw the temperatures, it was over 100 with the heat index. I was not a happy man. We had a room air conditioner, but it wasn't this room where I was working in, and my wife and son got it for most of the time. So anyway.
I've been in your house before, and the room that you're in is the hottest room in your house anyways.
Yeah.
It would have been miserable for you to be up there.
It was like 96 hours, and I'm working from here, right, all day for work. So it was terrible. But hey, we're here now. It would have been a bad week for a podcast.
I bet.
We got a lot going on. We're going to talk about the college football and the draft. What's going on? What does it look like? Let's predict the future. We also have some talk about Jelani Tavai and whether he's missing any digits. And, of course, Dan Miller. Dan, the man, the voice of the Lions, is going to be
joining us. You got to lead with a big guest like that. When we get a guy like of Dan's esteem, you got to lead with him.
Well, yeah, you're right. We probably do. We probably should have. But for everyone, Dan's going to take some. He's going to take some calls today. So you guys get rocking, and get rolling. We'll be ready for that. We got that going on. A whole lot more. Great show lined up. Riz, are you ready to go, my man?
Let's do it.
Oh, it didn't work. Darn it! All right, I got to do it by hand.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
I found out where it's at. Okay, this is where an edit's going to go in the audio piece, and you folks all get to witness it live. Sorry, there's a new piece of equipment here.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right, a couple of quick announcements. Oh boy! First, check us out and help us out at Patreon. Special thanks to Big Dylan from
Guam.
Ooh, very nice, very nice. Of course, our very first donor, Mathis. Brian Burkheiser from I Prevail, iprevailband.com. Join them. And, of course, all the great people like the $20 Patreon people you saw in the opener, that new opener countdown we have. You can do that by going to patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Get all hooked up there and get going. And, give us $1. Give us $10. Give us $20. You get $20. You get your name on the opening sequence of the show. We love you folks for doing that. But even $1 will give you access to the Slack chat, which is the most intelligent Lions chat on the internet. It's the place you want to be, guaranteed. The best. I mean, Riz, you tell me, right? You talk about a great group of people that, I mean, there's a lot of different topic channels that we talk about, but people that support each other, Lions people, honest takes,
yes,
no hate. Right, all that.
No, when people disagree in there's no like poo flinging. It's like, why do you think that? And there's you get to the root of the discussion. There's no hate. It's all comes from a point of intelligent Lions chat, just like you said, which is what we all want. That's what we strive for.
Poo-flinging has its place, but not there. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Join up, help support the show, help us do all the stuff that we're doing and the growth that we got going on. All right, give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast, Instagram, Detroit Lions Podcast, and on the Tweeter machine. Go grab the Tweeter cheese. We're not verified, so we can still tweet. Check us out at DET Lions Podcast. DET
I can't do that.
Lions Podcast. Very best place to see Riz retweeting.
Retweeting only with no pants.
That's right. Rate us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, wherever you find us. We love those 5-star reviews, and thank you, everybody, for giving those. Those are much, much appreciated. Those are forever, as you know. And if you have something you want to talk about, you can make the show better, hit us up in the subreddit. We love that. We're anxious to do stuff to make this better. This is a community show, and that's why we're looking at you. All right, give us a call via Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, Detroit Lions Podcast, or call us on the Lions line. 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-467. Got some big thunder rumbling in the back. You got a storm rolling through. Leave a message. You get a chance to hear yourself on the show.
Tighten your chin straps, kids. It's time to review this week in Reddit.
All right, it's time to talk about the fun and exciting things going down this week in Reddit. And quickly coming through on the top chat, or in the chat right now, is Riz is looking like Brendan Fraser. It's
really,
yeah. You know, it's.
Hey.
I don't know if it's like the Riz.
If I can score Rachel Weisz out of it, I'm all for that.
Yeah, you know what? There's nothing to say. You got it. All right, let's get into it. Fantasy football on the menu, boys and girls. Biggest fundraiser of the year for the show, and just the guarantee for everyone. If you're worried that football isn't going to happen, our refunds are 100%. We'll take care of that and make sure.
I was just going to ask you about that, Chris. Yeah. So thank you for clearing that up.
Yep. If there's a partial season, it has to have some meat to it, right? Where everyone at least gets to play each other one time for it to work. We're still going to go, but if it doesn't work, we'll refund then too. We're there. It always hurts to get to do that, but we don't do anything with the money. It sits in kind of an escrow until the end of the season every year, and then we do our payouts at the end. So get in now, get your spot held, because if there's football, there's going to be fantasy, and you get a chance to win some money and help support the show along the way. It's a great deal, a lot of fun, a great way to support the show and get something out of it. Right, that's what we're trying to do. All right, college football. Now, and you and I, we've got different perspectives here, and I'm not saying you're wrong, right? I have my evidence, you have your evidence, and we will pit them against each other, bang heads, take our clothes off, and wrestle in the oil to see who wins. Well, how's that sound?
This is not Stripes. We are not. You are not John Candy. I am not Bill Murray.
You don't know that.
There's like 5 people who understand what we're talking about right there. That is a great movie that has been lost to the time.
Yep, 100%.
Lighten up, Francis. I still use that line, and like too. 1 out of every 80 people gets it.
Yeah, they all look at me cross-eyed. All right, so college football. Riz, you say college is in the spring, not in the fall, and I say that's out of season.
I do not think we will see a Division I college football game until March. I think they're still trying to put up a good sport about it, but when the Ivy League bolted, when they've already canceled all the non-conference games, when schools are showing, when USC, as an example, is not allowing students back on campus, that's actually the big death knell right there. Because in order to play, you have to be registered and you have to have a place to go. You have to be able to practice. They're not going to be allowed to have access to their practice facilities. That's a problem if you want to play football. Now, granted, USC isn't that good, but you know that other California schools are going to go to that. You know that here in Michigan that's coming. You know that in Florida, maybe that'll be coming, or assuming, we'll see.
I know. I have information. So we'll keep going.
Yeah. And it sounds like, just from what I've gathered from talking to people at various MAC schools, at a Sunbelt school, at a what school? They're in CUSA. Mm-hmm. They are already all planning on not playing until spring. They just can't make it public yet. So Michigan today said that you cannot buy season tickets unless you are faculty or family of players or something like that.
What about the student? They're selling the student discount rate ones though, right? For that,
I believe so, but they're going to be held for it. And the liability at college is different than it is in the NFL. The NFL can play, and if there's a problem, they're professionals. They're treated like that.
Indeed.
If you're giving special treatment to the football players and other sports aren't playing, that is a direct violation of NCAA rules. It's a direct violation of Title IX.
Right.
It's also a couple of other titles. Somebody ran through the titles for me the other day. I'm like, that zaps 3 of them. They can't do it. It's the long and the short of it.
UFC welterweight title, I think, is at risk.
Yes, something like that. Yeah, I'd lose at that. So I do not expect the big schools to play until spring. Now, they desperately need to play because it funds so much of their we saw the thing where Iowa State is coming out. They're going to lose $40 million. They will have to cut every single sport except football and men's basketball if they don't play. They are not the only school in that situation. Some school, like Ohio State, will survive, Michigan will survive, but like Stanford wins the President's Trophy of all sports just about every year.
Right.
They cut men's volleyball. Now, that's near and dear to my heart, but it's also That's almost a revenue sport for them. They get between 1,500 and 2,000 paid attendance for every home men's volleyball game. That's more than most women's basketball programs get. It's certainly more than any MAC program gets. They canceled that. That's a sign that they're taking a big shot in their athletic department. They whacked, I think it was 11 other sports too.
Right.
The financial models do not work if they don't play football. So they will play, but they can't do it now. They have to wait until all schools in the conference are in the same boat. And right now, the Pac-12 can't do that. The Big Ten can't do that because Michigan is in a different place than Indiana is, which is a different place than Minnesota is.
Right.
Until there's that harmony in that, and they don't have enough time to get there in the fall. They just don't.
Let me talk. So let me tell you where my intel comes from. Right.
Okay.
All up here. No. So the number one, we're in Florida, right? Florida was hit less than everybody else with the COVID. Now the things are supposed to be spiking. I just saw like yesterday a thing where they were saying, nope, the testing labs were crazy wrong. They were reporting 98% success rates and 100% success rates, and success being like infection rate, right? On the COVID. And they said, that just doesn't seem right that every single person or almost everyone comes through. And what they found out was the 98 was supposed to be 9.8%.
Oh, they missed the decimal point. That's like how I didn't do well in math in high school.
This is from memory, I think it's 53 different testing labs that happened.
Oh.
So what we're seeing is a fake spike, and this is so terrible. This is what the whole problem is, and why people it doesn't matter where you stand on it, either side. This is why people can't agree, because you don't have good data to work with. The one thing you always need to make smart decisions is good data.
You got to be able to trust the data. In football analytics, you got to have the data in order to study it. And if you have bad data, your outcomes are going to be bad.
You can make decisions and with limited data and not enough data, and that's like part of what being a leader is in situations, that you make good decisions with limited data. But when you have bad data, your decisions are going to be flawed no matter what, and that's just disheartening as heck. It's just really, really crazy. Yeah. So what's happened? There's still don't know what to do. That hall hasn't all sorted itself out, and even been double confirmed that it's real. So we don't know. It could just be a momentary whatever. But we just got a note a little bit ago. My son's in the 4th largest school district in the nation, actually, here, and they've delayed school by 2 weeks. They pushed it back. Now we're supposed to start on the 10th of August. So you push it back to the 24th. That's like where everybody else normally is, right? But
that's my kids start that Thursday of that week, the 24th,
right in the heart of hurricane season. But they get off before Memorial Day, so that's
we don't have to worry about hurricanes here in West Michigan.
Yeah,
although we did that one earlier this year did come up and graze us.
Yeah, we saw it go by it. We got affected by it. So the thing is here with all of that is that puts us in hurricane season. We'll see whatever the heck it is that happens. But so we know that they're still planning. They've done a pretty good job, I think. They have multiple options. Students and parents can choose to go to school, have a e-learning, which is a component where you're actually getting all the lectures now, but you're sitting, you have to be there on time. It's no longer show up at one of these times. It's like going to school from your desk chair.
They've had time to create some structure for the learning at home. I know that my locals, my kids go to Zeeland, Zeeland East, go Chicks. They're working on that stuff feverishly, trying to get it ready in case they have to do that. There are some, what it sounds like, and this isn't official yet, and this is varying from district to district, a lot of districts are hoping that they will have enough people that don't want to send their kids back because they're either afraid or whatever.
That they can automatically social distance.
That there will be enough that the other kids can go every day. Because it sounds like most Michigan districts are working on a plan where the kids would go one day and be off a day, and then the other group of kids would come in the next days.
Yep.
And it would alternate doing that. So that's just really tough. I mean, that's for we can make it work because I work from home, but like my neighbors, one of them's a teacher. The other one works he works really weird hours. So they have a 9th grader, a 7th grader, and a 5th grader. It wouldn't work for them. I mean, there's no way that anybody can be home to monitor those kids. They're not coming into my house. They're great kids, but I don't want them in my house.
No, I don't want them either. So anyway, what I know is that school's going to open, and the other side of it is also that I have my neighbor's son. He's number 81 at Georgia Tech, We know his number now, 81.
Wow.
Now Calvin was 21. He's got his pro number.
That's
but
right.
That's cool.
I was going to say, he wasn't 81 at Georgia Tech.
Right. But he's going to be 81. And he's there now. They went last Friday. They started today. They are practicing as if they are playing. So we'll see what happens. I've got something that I want to drop right now, if you're okay with it. We got a guy who's supposed to be joining us, and I'd just like to bring him in now because he's here. You all right with that?
Oh, yes. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Time for a different kind of breakdown with today's special guest.
All right, we have a very, very special guest. I think, Dan, you might be working on your video a little, but that's okay. We're doing it live. We just make these things.
Hang on.
We hear you, Dan.
What I got here? Hang on. We're working on it. Start video. I think I did better by now.
How about that? How
What's
you
up,
doing,
guys?
Dan? So good to see you, my man.
Nice to see you guys.
Oh, well, it's good to
Thanks
have
for joining us, sir.
I think the last time we saw you in person was when you were at the Senior Bowl. And we kept trying to catch up with you, but you are a fast young man. And I had to say, you're looking over your shoulder while you're moving so fast, too. So I don't know if that's related or not, but hi.
Yeah, no, it's just called trying to stay employed. Things move quickly there. You got to get the guys while you can. That was my first time there.
Right.
Very interesting. I hope I don't go back because that would be indicative of the Lions having another bad season.
Yes.
But
yes.
It was pretty cool. I enjoyed that for my first time.
That's great. No, it was good. It was good to have you there. That was my second time. Riz goes there like every year.
It was my 11th.
But it was our first time on Radio Roll, so that worked out pretty good. It worked out good interviews, good people. Those kids are really, when you get to see them at that stage, it's really something to see the heart that they bring to the game.
Well, I mean, when you consider everything that's on the line for them, and they understand that, and they have been coached to understand it, and you see some agents running around there and things like that. Those guys know that how they conduct themselves over those couple of days, not just on the field but off the field with guys like you and guys like me, also goes into the equation of how they're viewed by teams.
Yeah, it's a tough deal. I want to touch on one other thing before we get into Lions stuff, and the thing I'm thinking of is it's been about a year since we did our amazing blockbuster feature film with Blandino. How have you been able to live with the fame?
It's you get used to it. I mean, you kind of make sure when you're around an open window that you're dressed because there's going to be paparazzi around there, but. That's what happens when you share the stage with a guy like Blandino. Things are going to blow up for you. And that's really what's happened in my career since then. Things have just changed a lot.
Well, we loved having you there. That was great. We loved having Dean there, too. The conversation you guys had was so enlightening. It was just great. We're a little upset that we can't get to do it this year, but things as it is, we're getting ready for training camp, and some of us won't be there this year. We're hoping that the Lions will be there this year.
Yeah, I think we're all – I don't think the NFL knows right now. I mean, clearly the owners and players are still going back and forth on what this thing's going to look like and how they're going to put it together. So we're just dealing with a lot of unknowns right now, a lot of hope that this thing's going to come together and it's going to work out and they're going to be able to pull it off. But, I look at them still going through it. And you kind of got – the canary in the coal mine there with baseball. We'll see how that thing goes. Right. In the NBA and the NHL, that'll give us some indication of what the NFL is going to be up against. But, they're still trying to get through, ground rules and preseason and, what training camp's going to look like. So there's so many things that still have to be decided.
I think one of the things that, and you can opine differently if you want. I feel like the NFL sort of shot themselves in the foot with the idea of if one state shuts down the rules that team can't practice, that no teams can practice, because we saw, when the Rams moved, they were able to play and they continue to play it was like 2 miles from my old house. They practice at a CLU up there and do their thing, and then eventually they're going to have their permanent residence. I feel like, you have the NBA bubble that they're doing. They've kind of limited their options now to where the teams can only be in one place. I feel like Jerry World has some extra fields. They could do some stuff, I think, around in Tampa. They have multiple fields, Miami. I think in places where maybe it's a little calmer, they could move fields and stuff and change the rules to still allow people to come in and play, or bubble them all, right? And if there's no fans there, it's always an away game anyway for everybody.
Yeah, the bubble is tough, I think, for an entire league over an entire season.
Especially
baseball's
with the
not working with a bubble.
Football. I mean, you got how many people are traveling on the line?
I mean, in a traveling party, you got 120 or something like that, something along those lines. I don't know the exact number, but look, I'm not convinced that anything is off the table. I certainly think that if somebody was in a situation where they had to move them, they might move them. I don't know that they're going to force teams to stay where they are if you have the bulk of teams that are fine and one is in a tough situation. I just thought, guys, we've never been here before.
Yeah.
We don't know where we're going, okay? You hope you know, but with this virus, what we think we know today isn't necessarily what we understand is truth tomorrow. So, look, I think the league's going to be flexible. I think the NFL has been very, very fortunate in the way that this thing has broken. And I'll explain that because it's hard to believe anybody has had any sort of good fortune with this. But look, they weren't in the middle of a season. They weren't trying to go to their playoffs. They really didn't have to cancel much. I mean, off season, they went virtual. We know that, but they still held their draft. They still had free agency. They still were able to at least meet virtually. They weren't like baseball, which was trying to come north and start a season. They weren't like the NBA or the NHL, where they had to stop in the middle of the season right before they went to their playoffs. And what they've had instead of that is the opportunity to watch these other sports and learn from them. In other words, baseball's had testing problems. Okay. NFL can learn from that. Try to figure out, okay, how do we avoid that? And as these other leagues start to play, the NFL is going to be able to watch what they do, look at the road bumps, and hopefully apply that to their plan. So, I look, we'll find out when we finally get that ultimate deal between the owners and the players as to how this is going to work. But I think it's going to be flexible all the way through.
Yeah. I think you're right. It has to be. What's your gut feeling, right? And I know you hate predictions, and no one's going to hold you to it. But do you think that they're going to figure this out? Because I mean, there's a lot of money at stake.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know how many preseason games, if any, they're going to play, so I don't know about that. But they will figure this out. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that barring the virus, if you're asking me, will they figure out the virus? That's the roadblock. They'll definitely figure out an agreement between the owners and players. Yeah. But look, the NFL's going to try to get to that second week in September with games, and they're going to do everything they can to make that happen. But there's so many unknowns with the virus. I think from a business point of view and getting an agreement between the owners and the players, they'll do that. But look, we haven't seen a sport the likes of football yet attempt to make this work.
Right.
Now, we haven't seen hockey players out there banging on each other for the most part yet. We're getting ready to see that in full tilt. You know, the training camps are just getting underway.
I'm really excited about that,
again,
by the way.
Yeah, a lot of unknowns to see how this thing works. I mean, look, football doesn't lend itself to social distancing. We're going to have to wait and see how that thing works out. But, you know, I believe they'll do everything they can to get this thing moving and moving with a season ahead of us.
Yeah, it's tough, though, because you've got so many new people coming in. We haven't asked you this yet. What did you think of the Lions draft? I haven't seen you since then, so I got to ask now. What did you think of the draft class? Do you think they're ready, or as ready as they can be?
You know, I think that's difficult. I think you certainly miss out on something by not being on the field for the entire offseason. I don't think there's any way to think that these guys wouldn't be behind where a normal rookie class would be. Because they just haven't been there with the coaches. I mean, think of how many sessions they have missed of having the opportunity to be out there with the coaches, working, learning the system. And now you're going to have to condense that into a smaller period of time. And you might have to condense that with 2 or no preseason games, right, where you really have to hit the ground running in September with the first game. So look, I like the draft in theory. I like the guys that they took. Okudah, I think, was a no-brainer right there. I'm really excited about Swift, and Okwara is, we all wanted them to take a pass rusher. Let's see if he can be that guy. And then you just 2 offensive linemen to throw into the mix, a couple of defensive tackles, and just let's get these guys out on the field and see where it goes from there. But, I see where they were going with the draft, and it worked for me. I'm really excited to see DeAndre Swift, guys. I got to tell you, I am really looking forward to what Darrell Bevel can do with him, and what Matthew Stafford can do with him, and to see him and Kerryon and Bo back there playing together. I think I'm excited about the offense and to see where it goes. But it's and I kind of think Swift is a guy you can just hand the ball, say go. And it's a little bit easier for a running back, I think, sometimes than some of these other positions that were, for Okudah, it's tough for a corner to get your legs under you in this league.
Right.
And particularly tough when you haven't been on the field all offseason.
Right. Yeah. The good news is he spent a little time practicing against Terry McLaurin, who came in as a NFL talent off the top.
Pretty good.
Your hometown
you saw
Washington.
him play really, really well.
Yeah. No, he's a heck of a player. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
But it's, again, I go back to what I said. These are all just unknowns. We're going to have to wait and see how this thing plays out and how these guys adapt. And, coaches have to learn to trust rookies. And the time they're going to have to learn to trust them is not going to be the normal, cycle that they would go through in a normal year.
I think we get a little bit of a break with Okwara having a brother. That's actually probably a little bit of a break for him to help him get up to speed, having someone who's already there and kind of give him a little bit of an edge that a normal draftee wouldn't get. One thing, though, I'm thinking about is with Matthew Stafford having a run game. 2 things. One, he's going to be probably surprised at what a run game is in the NFL at this point, right? And then how it changes things up. But the other side of it is you get to talk to these guys a lot, and it's not always on the air, it's not always off the air, and I'm not asking you to reveal anything, super secret or anything. But it feels like Matthew Stafford this year might feel like he has a little something to prove. I mean, he's an absolute professional. He's an absolute, he's been a great player, but going down with an injury when he did can for some guys be a turning point in their career. Do you think he's got that kind of chip, or is he just, I'm going back to work and doing what I always do?
Well, I think Matthew's always got a bit of a chip. I think that's what drives him. I think he's a hardworking guy. I think you've seen over the years his body has changed. I think he looks, worlds better now than he ever looked before.
Yep.
And I think Matthew understands where the clock is in his career as well. And I think Matthew understands that the one thing missing from his resume are wins in January and ultimately a win in February. And that's what drives him. I mean, he wants to win. And to your original point, sure, some of that is on him, but I also think they have to do a better job of building the team around him.
Yep.
And I think that's what you were alluding to with the running game, and it has been abysmal for the most part since he's been here. So, look, I never question his motivation, and I feel certain you can win with Matthew Stafford. I just think you need to be better around him. I just think I've always said, as good as he is, a little bit less Matthew, I think, would be more Lions.
There you go. All right. Looking also at the whether or not there's a season. Let's again. What are the? I don't want to ask you to make predictions because we don't do that to people. But what are some of the keys for the Lions this year to really succeed in the league? I know let's just try to put the virus aside and say, okay, would they start playing on week 1?
Talk football.
Yeah. What do you think the keys are for the
guys,
team?
It's defense. I'm really not worried about that offense. I think that offense is going to be fine. This is about that defense being significantly better than it was last year. That defense really didn't give them a chance to win at critical times last year. They had to come up. You have to find some way to pressure the quarterback. You have to find some way to make quarterbacks uncomfortable. They didn't do that.
Right.
If you don't do that, I don't care who it is in this league, they're going to find a way to beat you. And they have to find some way to do that. And whether that's Collins or Nick Williams, coming off a 6-sack season, continuing to kind of, blow up in his career and head in the right direction, or the 2 Okwaras, or, Austin Bryant becomes something of a pass rusher. How are they going to use Jared Davis? Whatever it is, however they map it out, they've got to find some way to pressure the quarterback. And you can argue coverage, pressure, whatever you want. You have to pressure the quarterback. These guys are too good if you let them sit back there.
And how did this defensive genius not create that defense?
We saw that happen last year. Oh,
Whatever it was last year, it did not work. And I really thought that defense was set to have a pretty good season last year, but it just didn't come together. And I think go ahead, Jeff.
With the way that they started too, because they did start very well, and it just went off the rails after about the week 4.
Yeah, and it just felt like, number one, Snacks wasn't Snacks. No. Number two, Mike Daniels, who everybody thought was a great signing, never rounded into form. It was a couple weeks before Trey got going, and those 3 guys, for the most part, didn't do much in camp. And I think you saw that kind of reflected early in the season, that they didn't get off to great starts. And that's 3 big-time players that they were counting on up front. Deshaun Hand, again, wasn't, the guy the contributor we hoped he'd be. He's a huge X factor this year. I still think there's a world of talent there that can help this team, but you have to be on the field. So, there's so many things that just kind of went wrong last year and a lot of it just started up front. Look, if you were going to carry over what you saw in the last half of 2018, that started with Snacks. That started this defense changed the moment he walked in the door.
Absolutely.
And he wasn't the same guy last year, and that did not get you off on the right foot.
Yeah, absolutely. It did. Really quick, I want to fire up the phones. Dan was gracious enough ahead of time to say he'd take some of our questions.
Dan's taking calls.
Yeah,
not a responsibility, Dan.
We have
dangerous.
Great, no, we have really good listeners, really good people. But I want to remind them to be really good people because Blandino is the only other guy that's done this, and he got great treatment. Everyone was really nice to him and everything. So that's what I expect. But you just feel like every now and then you want to remind some folks. So give us a ring 248-782-8384. 248-782-8384, or you can hit us up via Skype. It's Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word. Either one of those ways, and you can get in touch, and we'll pick up and we'll get you in touch with Dan. You can tell him how wonderful a person is, because Dan, I read your bio on the Fox 2 site, right? Not that I needed to know who you are or anything like that, but you wrote it yourself. Most places do the promo department writes it, and it really is insightful about you, where you came from. You came to Detroit, wanted to go back, but the city bit you and kept you, and you got injected with a happy Detroit, right? The kind that you can't shake free from, right? I've met a couple guys who come in town as disc jockeys and some other things like that, and it just gets a hold of you, doesn't it?
No, it became home for us, and we came here when our kids were very young, and like I said, I mean, my grand plan was to come here and in 2 years go back home to Washington. And, that's kind of where I always dreamed my career would be, because you grew up there.
Yeah.
But when we got here, this just became home. And the station was amazing. The people were amazing. And, I in this business, I never take anything for granted. And I think you'd be foolish if you think things are going well to make a move that something you're uncertain of. Honestly, it might have been my plan the day I walked in the door, but it disappeared very quickly because, this is just you can't find a better sports market. You can talk all you want about other places, but when you start talking about having, 2 major college football programs right around the corner, and then all 4 major sports, there's just, Chicago, you got to drive 3 hours to get to Illinois.
Yep.
That's right.
New York, you talking Rutgers football? Come on. So, I mean, nothing against Rutgers, but it's just, it doesn't compare to Michigan State. So, I mean, I challenge anybody, take this city and this sports scene and find me a better one. You can argue Boston with Boston College and things like that, but it's hard to find one you can argue a lot about.
Yeah, even your home, Maryland is not exactly right there. Virginia isn't exactly right there. Virginia Tech's a long ways away.
Yeah, Virginia Tech is forever
that's a long ways. Since you're from Washington, how do you feel about the team changing and retiring the Redskins moniker?
It's time. This has been a flash, point for back when I was there. And really more recently, I just feel like in in line with where we are as a society right now, it's time. I mean, we understand that is a slur, that name is offensive to some people. And if that's the case, then I think we have to respect that. I might not feel it. You might not feel it, but there are people that do. And I think, we have reached a point, hopefully, in society where we do understand that and we respect it. And it's just time to do that. And, I'm waiting to see what the heck's coming out tomorrow on that organization with everything that people are talking about right now with the Redskins. I don't know what it is, but all I'm reading is that this is going to be.
Somebody just posted something to Twitter on that you'll have to check when you get off with us. That may or may not be fun. If Twitter's working again, we'll see about that.
Knowing Dan Snyder, it's going to be something like the DC Redskins. Right, because he wants to take the Washington out of there, right?
Do you have a favorite name that you want, Dan?
Backwards.
I don't. I guess I've seen Red Tails quite a bit, and Warriors. You know what? I got to be honest with you. None of them really hit me and made me say, "Wow." Look, I was still hacked off that they changed the name Bullets. That one still. Wow, to this day, left me just with a bad feeling because that one was done for all the wrong reasons. But
yes,
this one is time. What's that?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically they couldn't find a logo that worked that they could sell, and that's a different story for a different time.
It's okay. Riz and I last week.
But anyway, this is time, and they'll find one hopefully that'll make sense and do the process correctly. The timing of it is a little curious as you're going into a season trying to wonder what a uniform is going to look like if you don't have a name at this point. So I don't really know what they're going to do, but I think it's certainly time, and we'll see where that goes.
It's okay that you're still hacked off about the Bullets because Riz and I were both lamenting last week that Smokey and the Bandit was snubbed for an Oscar. So we can hold on to these things for a while. Right. Hey, we do have a caller, and I think it's a guy who just missed a role as one of the locals in Ozark. Is that you, Brandon?
No, it's not.
So Brandon's down in Missouri, and I love to give him a hard time about that. Lions fan, originally from Detroit, right, Brandon?
Yeah, that's right. Dan, how you been, man? It's been a little
What do you say, Brandon? How you doing?
Not bad at all. Hey, little trivia question for you guys. Since the Redskins name is going to be retired, now the entire history of the Lions and the Redskins is the Lions never beat the Redskins except when Matthew Stafford played. He did nothing but beat the Redskins every game he played. Ain't that right, Dan?
Yeah, trust me, I kept pretty good track of those because I had a lot of friends that were texting me during some of those games. I mean, obviously, last year didn't go so well, but there were some good wins. And that the win at Ford Field where they scored late was one of my favorites, and it was just a heartbreaker because Cousins had put them ahead, and Stafford brought them right back down and scored, and it was just a beautiful thing. There was actually some pretty good games there. There was a game, I don't know if you guys remember, where Robert Griffin just kind of fell and fumbled down in plus territory for Washington and ended up being a Lions win at FedEx. So there have been some pretty good games between them.
Yeah, in fact, that was the first time they ever won in Washington alone, let alone just beat them in the first place. I think if everything's said and done, I believe Matthew Stafford beat 3 quarterbacks and Cousins twice. I believe that, Tyler, because one of them was Jason Campbell, I think. And,
well, they beat Campbell to snap the losing streak at Ford Field. The long losing streak, the 19-game losing streak. They beat Jason Campbell in that game, and I know they beat RG3 at FedEx, and they would have beat Cousins at Ford Field.
Yeah, it was Donovan McNabb that had to have Rex Grossman took his place at the end of the game because he was so ineffective. And that was, I think that was his first win. Matthew Stafford's first win in his first year. And then he got hurt again. Or was that the second year? Well, anyway, regardless. Listen, I'm just going to ask you real quick, and I'll go ahead and get out of here. Would you like to see the Lions get either Mike Daniels at a heavily incentive contract to be in the middle, or maybe pick up Everson Griffin, because there was some Twitter action going on between him and some of the Lions fans, faithful. What do you think, Dan? Which one do you think would be best suited to help Lions out? Now, I know, Jeff, you and Chris would have a comment or two on that as well.
Well, I mean, Daniels, it would really come. Yeah, Daniels. Thanks, buddy. Always good talking to you. Daniels, I think it would come down to what they think about his physical condition, because they obviously that did not pan out well last year.
Yeah.
The fact that he hasn't signed with anybody gives me pause, even at maybe a greatly reduced price. So he would come down to health. Look, I love Griffin. I would take him anytime. He's broken our hearts how many times between he and Daniil Hunter on the other side.
He's really good.
Yeah, no, I would take him, and he's obviously going to sign with somebody at some point, and that's what they need. They need some pass rush, and if that's going to come, look, that comes down to Bob Quinn. Look, are you comfortable with the pass rush that you have right now? And you believe that you can make this work between you and Matt Patricia, that this group can do it? Because it's those kind of decisions that ultimately, when you get to the end of the season, might make or break you. And, a guy like Griffin can still rush the passer. But that's where they have to really believe in what they've got, or look at what they've got and say, we need to get a little bit better.
And as in a make or break year, as it seems to be, you have, I don't know, if you have to feel really good about your team if you're not spending that, because we've got a lot of cap. What are we, number 3 in cap space in the league right now? You have to feel really good about your team when your tail's on the line to not go out and spend it and just take the flyer to give them a run and see how it goes. This is an interesting kind of dynamic right now.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what Griffin's price is and what he has discussed with teams, because I would think people have talked with him and got an idea of where he's at, and what kind of number he's looking for, and whether or not it makes sense. And look, he may be somebody that when teams get into camp, they look around, have an injury, something along those lines, or say, you know what, maybe we can add a little something here. He's going to be playing with somebody come September. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with him.
All right, Riz, I'm going to hand you, it's your turn for the question. I just want to hit the phone number again really quick, 248-782-8384. If you want to ask Dan a question, just a couple more minutes here. He's been gracious with his time, but as much as we want to take his whole day and hang out, we just can't do that to him. He's got other movies to star in.
That's right.
All right, Riz, go ahead, man.
One of the things, you have to deal with a lot of players coming and going. And I was just wondering, like, of the Lions who were here last year who aren't here anymore, who are you going to miss the most?
Oh, I had a great relationship with Sam Martin. I love Sam. Yeah. Sam was a great guy, and had just gotten to know him over the years, and always enjoyed talking to him. And he was always, at events where I'd take my family, Sam would always come up and talk. He was just a classy guy. I really liked Sam. So that's on a personal level, he would certainly be one of them. Look, I'll miss, going in a locker room, which we won't be doing anytime soon, but listening to Darius, and, he just always made you smile. I mean, may not make the coaches smile all the time with what he talked about. He'd make them smile with the way he played. But Darius was just one of those guys that was always going to give you a good quote. He'd be funny. You could talk to him about anything, and basketball or football or whatever it was. So, certainly I think that's a guy that you'll miss. But I think probably they jump out as the two for different reasons. But, when guys are here for a while and you have a relationship with them, or you respect the heck out of the way they played, which I did with both those guys, you miss them when they're gone. And as you said, Jeff, it having covered this team for 23 years and going into year 16 of play-by-play, you see a lot of guys come and go, and you see a lot of guys that are good guys, and you form a bond with and a relationship with, and you wish them well, and you just understand that it's part of the business.
Is there any of them that you've kind of stayed in touch with after they've gone and kind of kept that relationship going, or has it always been, hey, it's a professional relationship, and once we're gone, hey, it's been great to know you, it's been very respectful and all that, and they separate? Is there anyone that's kind of you've maintained?
I think that the guys that are around here, you stay in touch with.
Sure.
When I see Herman, there's always a connection there, and TJ, who's much more recently, obviously, and Corey Schlesinger Colo and guys like that, guys that live around here, and you get a chance to see them. Jason Hansen, always great to to see him. The guys that come around, you keep a relationship with because you've gotten to know them. And, a lot of them I sat and did hours of radio with, and you just sit there and you're just kind of shooting the bull like we are. So, there's always that connection when you come back and I tell people all the time, people say, what are players like? And you say, you know what? It's a cross-section of society.
Yeah.
You put 53 guys in a room, maybe some guys you like, some guys you don't, some that like you, some that don't like you, and some you'd love to have dinner with and some you wouldn't. But it's, they're there to do a job. I'm there to do a job. The ones that you can, you're around a lot and you form a relationship or a bond with, they still have their job to do and I still have my job to do. But that's kind of one of the fun parts of the job is when you get to, do an hour of radio with one of the guys and talk to them about, stuff that might go beyond what you normally hit on in the locker room and, find out, hey, what's life like for you? And talk to guys, after a game on a Sunday night, what do you do? Give me your routine on a Sunday night when you go home trying to come down from 65,000 people cheering for you and things like that and talking to guys
just
about.
Slapped his camera.
I did, yeah, man. This is technology and me don't always get along.
Give him a quarter. He's got the hands to stop that ball.
Yeah, no. So we there've been a lot of guys that have come and gone, and it's winning is what it's ultimately about. But within that, there's the guys that you get to know and cover, and it's the interesting guys that make your job interesting a lot of times.
Yep. I want to ask one. This is going to be probably a tough question. Since things have changed in '91, the Redskins beat the Lions to go on and win the Super Bowl, and that was, I'm sure, a joyous time, and you enjoyed that a great deal as a kind of a native of the area and everything. Now, after all these years in Detroit and knowing the story of Detroit and experiencing these years, do you maybe wish it would have been different? The Lions would have had a shot to get that one.
I want them to get it when I'm there.
Yeah.
I want them to get it when it's funny because Ryan Field, who's now in New York, used to be here, used to work at our place. He would always tell me, hey, if that game had been at the Silverdome, Lions would have won that game. And so I asked Spielman one time, I said, if that game had been at the Silverdome, would you have beaten those guys? And he looks at me and goes, not that team.
No.
That team was incredible.
They were loaded.
I mean, Rippon had a year that was, incredible. I mean, up there with a lot of years that guys have had in terms of never getting sacked, not throwing interceptions, really effective throwing downfield, terrific running game, defense was good. So that would have been a tough one for the Lions. But I'm hoping they make this thing happen while we're all together and while we all can watch it now. And I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and I said, more than anything, while I certainly dream of calling that game or having that opportunity, and that's kind of my business, and that's my field, and you would love to have that opportunity one day. I want it for the fans, man. I want the fans.
This is such a Dan
to get the payoff
now.
that they've, really earned, obviously, and endured a lot for.
I have to say that is such a Dan answer, and I say that with the ultimate respect. Please understand. You're a guy. You worked really hard, and you acknowledge how hard you didn't get breaks right away, and you were like at that thread as you worked through your career to get where you were, and you kind of landed here, and it was like, okay, well, we'll see what we can do. And the one thing you've always done has been gracious to every single person who seems to have asked you to work with them or that you work with or deal with, and a professional. And even when the cameras are nowhere to be found or nowhere to be seen, you're always such a great guy. And then here you sit as a fan and an announcer and a sports director at Fox, all the things you do, and you want it for everybody else. That is just such a Dan thing. It's really something. You have a heart like very, very few people that I've ever met, man. I'm very serious about that.
That's really kind of you. I appreciate that. I mean, I'll say a couple things. One, I had so many people help me in my career.
Yep.
That if you don't pay it forward, it says something about you. I mean, yes. I'm not kidding. I mean, look, I had all I heard was no earlier in my career. And I had people that helped me, and I had people that said, don't stop, you can do this. So I always try, when somebody young in the business asks me, I try to help them. And I think that's what you're supposed to do, because that's what people did for me. But as far as the fan thing goes, as God is my witness, that is my sincere feeling, because, and I've said this to you guys before, the best part of my job is when fans are happy. Man. The best part of my job is, exactly, and I've said this a million times, is when I go to the grocery store or the restaurant or the gas station or the drugstore or whatever, and people come up and they want to talk and they're happy and they're like, we're rolling or this or that. And the worst part is when they're hacked off. The worst part is when things aren't going well and people are angry. The best part is when we're walking out of Ford Field after a big win and feeling that kind of euphoria for the week before you get to the next game. And the worst part is, dealing with a loss and having to endure that for 7 days. So look, this is a game of emotion for the players, and for fans and somebody who does what I do, it's a game of emotion as well. I've there are people who say you can't root for a team. Look, I'm the voice of the team. I'm rooting for the team. I want them to win. Now I'm going to tell you when they're not doing well, and I'll tell you when in Lomas will as well, when we feel like they need to do better or did something wrong or something like that. But at the end of the day, I want them to win. So I'm riding the same roller coaster that fans are. I just have a job to do along the way, and I feel their pain. I want them to win. I want to see. Look, man, I dream of Hart Plaza and Woodward and a parade. I've been to a Red Wings parade, and I've been to a Pistons parade. I want to go to a Lions parade. That's what I want.
That would be unbelievable. You're right, Dan. It is so much easier for us in the media to do our jobs when the fans are happy and when the team is doing well. A lot of people think that, when it's negative, you have so much more to write about or talk about. But it's not pleasant. It's not as much fun for us either.
No, it's not. And Jeff, you know, and I know that either way, regardless, you have to do your job.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would say is, people always say, well, how do you do the game when things aren't going well? What I say is, sometimes the game is the easiest part. It's like in 2008, Brandy and I would always say to each other, call the next play. Call the next play. There's a game happening in front of you on Sunday. So if they're 3-8 or, whatever the record is, sometimes that doesn't matter in the moment because you're calling the game. The game is the story.
Right.
But where it becomes difficult is when things aren't going well and all the things that you have to turn out during the week, and players are hacked, coaches are hacked, nobody wants to smile, nobody wants to have fun, and you're just trying to grind through all the content that you have to produce. So that to me is the hardest part when they're losing is everything that you have to do during the week. Because once they kick off, that game takes on a story of its own and develops on its own and becomes something that you're just describing what's happening in front of you. And whether they're 9-2 or 2-9, your job is to call the next play. Right after the game, you can put everything in perspective. But it's for those 60 minutes of playtime, it's about what happens on that field that day.
Excellent. Okay. Quickly, I want to ask you before we go, and all we've heard is great things, and I'm sure we will from you as well. But Martha Ford, her tenure with the Lions, we absolutely loved it. I thought she did a great job. There was, William Clay did his job as an owner.
It was his way of doing it.
Yeah.
She was very different.
Yes, and I think she brought a way that the fans appreciated more, especially at that time. I think the time was perfect for her, and it feels a little tough, to see her leave. Now, look, somebody at 94, I believe, years old, and as spry as she is, springing around on the practice field in the summer heat ahead of the season, she's out there. She's on the sideline for warm-ups every game, standing there. I mean, just amazing shape for somebody of her age. But I understand the standing down. Do you have any stories about interacting with her? Any just kind of insider kind of viewpoint of how she was while she was there? We saw her briefly when we were doing the stadium tour on the new on the upgrades at the club level.
That's
and stuff.
right.
And we got to see her. She didn't run us over in the golf cart. She probably would have if she knew who we were. But otherwise, anything inside, kind of your impressions of Martha and dealing with her?
She was great. I mean, I got the opportunity to talk to her a number of times and Courage House dinners, things like that, where she would be around and the chance to interact with her. And she was just so sharp. And that's the thing that I think there was an assumption by people that somebody at that age can't be in tune to everything that's going on. And you couldn't be more wrong. She was locked in. And I remember one time I was just kind of sitting back and viewing. Her and Brandy sat and they started running through all these names from the 60s and 70s and just boom, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I was just like, this is so cool. I'm getting all this history from these two people that lived it, because Brandy's a lot older than I am. But I got to just kind of live that with slide that in. I got to kind of live that through them. But she was great and gracious and always went out of her way to, say hello. And, I couldn't have had any more pleasant interactions with her. And as for how she handled things, look, I think we all understand that the criticism of Mr. Ford was that he was loyal to a fault and he would stick with people too long. And he had trust in people that they would ultimately get it right. And I think that came back to bite him oftentimes. She didn't have that patience. I think she was instrumental in firing an offensive coordinator in the middle of a season. She fired a general manager. She fired a team president. She fired a head coach who was coming off a winning record. She was driven to win. When she hired Bob Quinn, people around the league said, you got the next guy. Now we're going to see this year. I think this is the year where they are going to have to put it together. The Ford family has somewhat said that, but you can't have it both ways. You can't, on the day that Bob Quinn is hired, say, great move, hot young guy in the league, ready for that next move, great job, Lions. And then when things don't turn out the way that you hope for the first, what are we through 4 years at this point, say, well, it was bad and that's reflective of her. I mean,
right.
It's easy to do that in sports, and hindsight's a beautiful thing. But I don't think anybody was arguing when they hired Bob Quinn. I don't think anybody looked at that and said, you know what? That's another Lions hire. This is terrible. People said that guy is ready. And like I said, I think we're going to find out this year as they kind of hit that point where they need to win, how that thing works out. And that story hasn't completely been written yet.
Yeah. And just from an opinion perspective, I think Bob Quinn is that guy, and he will do it, whether he does it here or somewhere else. Eventually, Bob Quinn is really, his value will be seen. I think he's just that, he seems that smart of a guy. The way he's turned our cap situation around, the way he's filled in with so many gaps where there was no depth of talent. We have, what I feel like is we have a relatively deep team that we didn't have. We used to have some stars and no depth. And now maybe we don't have those superstars like we used to. I mean, we have Matthew, we have a couple of guys, but we have a depth in a lot of places. And I think the next step after that is when you start picking up those big stars. And maybe Jeffrey Okudah will be one of them. Maybe Swift will be one of them. Swift, I really like that pickup. But last year's the anomaly with Matthew's back, and this year with the virus, I think that may hamper the ability to effectively evaluate the front office and the coach even on their I think, from the coaching perspective, Matt Patricia has adjusted like I've seen no coach in the NFL, to be honest with you, from his first year and the rough time he had coming in to how he is today with the press and the players and everything else. He's a completely different person, it seems like.
Well, I give him credit. Yeah, I think he adapted some things after the first year. I think he did some self-evaluation and did change some things. But look, to your point a moment ago about the virus is going to affect things, it is. But here's the deal. If they play, somebody's going to win.
That's right.
And if they play, somebody's going to win a Super Bowl. So you're in the same situation that everybody else is. So, and I'm not coming down on them. I'm just saying, let's understand that if this season comes off, everybody's playing. Teams are going to the playoffs. Teams are going to the next round and the championship games, and then they're going to the Super Bowl. So why not you? Why not us?
Everybody's sort of starting from the same point. And
no question, Jeff.
It's nice that you have a holdover staff, but there are going to be teams that have new people in new places, in prominent places, that are that are going to make it, that are going to succeed.
Yeah.
And that won't go over well if it doesn't happen in Detroit.
You got a holdover staff. You got a quarterback who's coming back, who's hopefully healthy. You've acquired some guys who know your system. I think there's a lot of things that are in the right place for this team right now. There's questions. There's absolutely questions about, pass rush and things like that. But I think there's a lot to like about this team. And like I said, it's going to affect. But if all is said and done and somebody is holding that Lombardi trophy in February, they're not going to feel like it's only half a trophy because they played during COVID. They're going to feel like they won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
They still celebrate that strike year. I know they do.
Yeah.
Listen, I was in Washington for that strike year. I was there for replacement players. I was at a replacement player game as a fan. So, trust me. Nobody in Washington thought any differently about that Super Bowl, after they beat the Broncos. Everybody thought it was just fine, and nobody was worried about the fact that you won 3 games with guys that were no longer on the team. That's a great analogy to draw, Jeff, between that, where nobody worried about it, and this, where it's still going to be win on Sunday because that's your job.
Yep. And there was plenty of questions around San Francisco at the beginning of the year, and they had one heck of a year come out of all those questions that started. So there's always opportunity, and we have our hope, like we do every year. Let's see if it comes together. But
fingers crossed, baby.
We've kept you long. Apologize for that, but thank you again for your graciousness and joining us. Really, really appreciate it. And have a great year. Go knock it out of the park like you always do, and hopefully you get to do all kinds of games.
I'm with you guys. I'm hoping we get them out there and we all get to enjoy it. And again, I always appreciate what you guys do. And thanks for having me. And let's hope we get to playing some football here in a couple weeks and we can start talking about players and games and stuff like that.
That's right.
Amen to that.
Sunday night,
Thanks,
The Works, Dan. Every Sunday. Don't miss Dan. 11 o'clock, right? Or is it 11:30?
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. We'll be there this Sunday.
Night. Always good to see. Don't miss Dan. Take him while you have him because you never know what tomorrow brings. All right. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Dan.
boys.
Really appreciate it.
See you guys.
All right, guys. We'll see you. All right. Let's see what's going. Dan, we'll let him get his camera out, get him
unplugged,
disconnected,
here.
And while he does, we'll go ahead and move forward.
Let's kick this off and break it down. Tighten your chin straps, kids. It's time to review.
There. Wow.
We love Dan.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Dan is absolutely
I will never forget our first training camp party. We just sort of casually invited him, like, hey, we're going to be here at the drafting table in Wixom. If you want to come, it'd be great. People would love to see you. He shows up and spends, an hour and a half with us.
Drinking beer,
sitting
taking
around
pictures.
talking with everybody, taking pictures. Strangers who were there who weren't even with our group were coming up and talking to him. He couldn't have been better.
Telling behind-the-scenes stories, right?
Very, yes, he did tell a few behind-the-scenes stories, which were great. Very sincerely wonderful human being.
And I think
we're lucky to have him in Detroit.
He doesn't like to hear it. And not that he doesn't like to hear it, but it makes him feel uncomfortable, right? It would make anyone feel uncomfortable. Yeah. But I meant that 110%. He is absolutely the most wonderful human being, massively charitable, great guy to anyone who listens. He was on with Freddie, the pizza man. You know him, right? He was on with him.
Freddie's great too.
Like 3 days ago. He was on with him. Dan doesn't care. He's got time. He's going to make time for anybody. He's a great guy. Yep. So love it. As a matter of fact, I have one of those behind the scenes stories. The one he did the third year. The party where he talked about Blandino after the Dallas game. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
I will play that for the audio listeners. Sorry, video guys. You have to go to it'll just be a thing at the end of the audio podcast for folks to listen to. It is a fabulous, hilarious story.
Dean's reaction is great too.
Yeah.
Once he heard it.
That's awesome. All right, a couple of things we just got to wrap up. So let's talk about the effect of the draft. We're going to go back to where we were. The effect of the draft on college football. I was at where, I ended with my guy at Georgia Tech is at practice with every expectation that they're going to play in the fall. So I'm not sure what's going to happen from that end. There's a lot of talk about them playing in the spring. Let's talk about if they do play in the spring. What does that mean for the NFL draft?
So the NFL draft is scheduled for the last weekend in April in Cleveland. And from what I gather from Cleveland, those dates to have it there are fixed. They cannot move it. now they have the ability to move it out and do it somewhere else. And they certainly did that with Las Vegas last year. That's why it will be in Vegas in 2022, and I hope to be there for that. I will certainly be at the one in Cleveland if they have it, because it's my home.
I want to do both. I want to do both.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that has come up is that it'll be like, and the NCAA will have to sign off on it, but they do this in baseball. Guys will be playing college baseball, and they will get drafted like while they're on the field.
Yeah,
and they're still allowed to have that happen. That isn't currently the case in football. That if you get drafted, your eligibility is instantly gone in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
They are working, from what I understand, and I think I want to say it was Tom Pelissero that talked about this the other day on NFL Network. It was somebody from the NFL Network that talked that this was one of the things that they are working on, and that if they have to do it and they do want to have it live, that you're going to see the NCAA making a allowance that players who are still playing will have the eligibility to be drafted. Now, the other side of that is, if you're a top 50 prospect, why in the hell are you going to play in the spring? There is absolutely no point for you to play.
Right.
So it's going to be a very, very different, diluted college football season. You're not having non-conference games. You're not having a lot of the start. Trevor Lawrence, he ain't playing. Justin Fields, he ain't playing.
Boy, I don't know. That to me, maybe Trevor Lawrence, okay. Maybe a top 20 guy, right? You say top. If I'm number 25 or number 35 kind of in this list, isn't that like a guy not showing up for the combine workout where you're like, boy,
no, I would
don't
say it's more like not showing up for a bowl game, which a lot of guys have done, and that's, by the way, is a trend that is not going to go back in the other direction either.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because you're so short on time, if you get hurt, you're not only missing your college season, you're missing your first pro season. Yeah. That's directly impacting your long-term future, and I just don't think that guys are going to take that risk. I know agents will be telling them left and right, hey, man, you don't need to play. He's probably going to go 90 overall, but you're a top 30 guy. You can't play. You can't risk that. That's going to happen.
My biggest worry is about injury on these guys, just because they're not in that shape, and when they finally go on the field for this season this year for both pros and college guys, no preseason, shortened everything, right?
And we're already seeing it, like Kelvin Harmon from the Redskins. He tore his Achilles. I think it was his Achilles. It was either Achilles or a knee tendon.
God.
But because he ramped up his training to get ready for training camp too quickly.
Right.
That's not good. You can't do that.
Right. And I think some guys, I mean, I think about my psychology here, right? I'm going to put it off as long as I can, and then I'm just going to go all in hardcore and get ready for the season, and that's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, you can't do that. Not in this day and age when the NFL players are so ridiculously athletic.
Yeah,
we see them walk across the stage in their underwear, and we're like, my God, the dudes in my gym don't look like that.
Oh yeah, I've got my own rating scale, and that's the one that I haven't read off yet. Yeah, so boy. We'll see how this goes. I really want him to play in the fall. I really, really do. I don't want anyone to get sick. I don't want anyone to die, right? But I really, really, really want football. And it goes back to what we started the show with. I just want him to get good freaking data. Get good data so we can make good decisions.
Yeah.
God.
And one of the things that's coming out with the data is that we're seeing a lot more positive tests. But, and you have to have the but in this, and not enough media outlets do this, the positive test rate, at least here in Michigan, is flat. The hospitalization rate for positive tests is actually going down. Yeah. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Everything in front of the butt.
So when you hear that I think it was 448 people in Michigan tested positive today, that number doesn't mean anything unless you have the other context with it. How many of those people needed hospitalization? How many of those people were tested? What's the positive test rate? What's the demographics of these people? Did it come in because a nursing home suddenly reported all their stats from the last 2 weeks? Did it come in because a prison tested and got all their stats in? Or is this the general populace? You have to find that information. Otherwise, you're dealing with an incomplete thing, and your incomplete data when you have incomplete data, Chris, what happens?
Yep. Incomplete data means terrible decisions. Bad data means even worse decisions. I'll tell you here, one of the things, and this is, you see it in sports and on Twitter, people take data and make the most insane kind of conclusions out of small sets of weird sets of combinations of data, right?
Like R Scraper for NFL. My God.
Yeah.
I like those guys too, but man, I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah. So like in Florida, right, we're the third largest population in the country. And I go to the point where you say, what is this all about? Really? Yeah. Is it about getting sick? No, it's about death. It's about dying. All right. Well, what is the death rate per million pop? Right. That's I think a key stat on how things are. Florida's like 25. We're literally in the middle of under the national average, and at 25, even though we got the third largest population, we got a ton of cases. People aren't dying. Could it be that the virus is weaker in the sun? Who knows, right? It maybe doesn't go away, but it's just you don't know, and there's so many extenuating and unknown variables. You just have to do the right thing, be careful, work with what you know, and make your own choices, like we said. But I just want us to play football. Can I talk about something else really quick?
Yes,
before
please
we
do.
go, we got one more thing after this.
Something happy, please.
Yes, because when people are in pain, we want to make them happy. And cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. These, let me get my face hidden so it shows if I can. Come on, work. This is, there you are.
Focus. There we go. Focus, Daniel-san. Focus.
Yum gummies. It's a whole big thing of watermelon gummies. CBD, they're delicious. They are absolutely delicious. These are a different kind. These are Chong's Choice gummies. These are the watermelon ones, again, little watermelon slices, and they're that delicious, like bubblicious watermelon flavor.
So I personally can't stand watermelon, so you're not helping me there.
Okay,
but a lot of people do like it.
I got you one here. This happens to be empty. These are gummy bears, and they are gummy bear flavored. They work great. And then here, this is
artificial color and sugar there's nothing better than that.
This is one you just do a couple drops under your tongue. It's the oil. It's like a full spectrum oil. And it's a couple drops, and it's like within minutes.
So can I ask you a question about that? Yeah. Because I'm a little weirded out by using an eyedropper to feed myself like I feed a baby cat.
Yeah.
Is that something like you get used to that motion? Like I put eye drops in my eyes compulsively because I have eye issues. Do you get used to it like that? Like I don't even feel it when it hits my eye anymore.
I'm so used to it that I suck this eyedropper top inside out. No, I'm just joking. I'm bragging about a different skill.
No.
No. Yeah, it is. It's literally. I guess I could just kind of show you if I wanted. Right? You take a little bit, you get it in the eyedropper, and under the tongue, and you keep it there for like a minute. Tastes good. It's just fine. And
nice.
Literally. Like this, the under the tongue happens the fastest. The gummies, they take about 20, 30 minutes. But the other day I had some real weird shoulder pain because I was in my chair all day for work. It was like I couldn't get up to even barely pee. I had to hide away during conference calls just to be able to use the bathroom. It was crazy. And my shoulder was killing me from just the posture and everything. And just made it go away. I kind of forgot about it. And I was like, hey, wait. And it was just not there, right? It is absolutely awesome. And the thing about it is there's none of the psychotropic or the mental effects. It's clean-headed. You can drive. You can operate a chainsaw. You can do all the things that you normally want to do. It just
don't drive and operate a chainsaw at the same time, kids. That's dangerous.
Well, it depends on the movie. No, it works great. It just makes the pain. Depending how much you do, makes it go away. And it makes it bearable, or it doesn't do anything if you don't take any, right? So I found it to be really, really good. It helps with insomnia for me. It helps with some just aches and pains, muscle pains, especially sitting home all day at the office and the just hunched forward crap. It makes me feel a lot better. And then when I get up and move around afterwards, there's not that kind of old man grunt and stretch before I can start moving. You know what I mean?
Man. So yeah. I can tell you, I'm in my basement right now. The steps are right over here. Mm-hmm. And when I get up, I'm going to walk up the steps, and my right foot is going to crack on every single step that I go up. And my wife will hear it, and she's like 3 rooms that way upstairs. She will hear my foot cracking. That's how bad it is.
But you got the big feet too, right?
Yes, I wear size 14 wide.
Me too.
Nice. Hey, foot buddies.
Yeah, well, we're popular. Yeah, no, that's crazy. It happens. It's not going to stop the popping. Sorry.
No, but like one of the things that comes with the popping is that when it resets, it's like, oh, your ankle's resetting and the muscles in your toe, especially your big toe, as it goes down and your plantar fascia, it's like it's stretched a little bit, and it just hurts, man.
That will help. It will take the sharp sting of that away. I love it. Like I said, we don't do anything that we don't, ourselves.
you just literally proved that. So there you go.
No. It's just, it's like Wayne Font said that when we interviewed about the players in the locker room. Sometimes a bad player, a good player, just has to go because they're bad in the locker room.
Yeah.
I will not just shill for something that I don't believe in, right? And I tried these, like I said, for my mother-in-law, and it worked really well, and I felt good giving it to her. She's on a fixed income, and I didn't want her wasting money. She got ripped off in that laser surgery. So I tried it, and it worked. And I was like, you know what? Maybe they'll work something out. And they did. So cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. I tweeted over the weekend. I don't usually tweet those, any of the ads, but they had a buy one, get one deal, but they've got like a 40% off going on right now too if you just go there. So check it out, cbd.detroitlionspodcast. If you're interested in that, I'm telling you, you will get relief and you will like it. And you know what? It's kind of fun when it's in little gummies. I don't know why. Like when I was a kid, I used to love gummy vitamins. Like, yeah, I want a double vitamin today, Ma.
They went from like the Flintstones to like the hard, crunchy things that stuck in your teeth until you were like in the middle of third period. And then they had the gummies. I was like, oh, this is so much better.
Oh, yeah. I'll eat all my vitamins twice, Ma. No. Don't OD on the vitamins.
There's only so much manganese you can take.
Speaking of needing vitamins, what's the one for your brain? There's a vitamin that helps your brain. I forget what it is, but whatever it is,
it escapes me.
Okay, so not only we need to ship some to Risden, and evidently me, but Jelani Tavai is in need of something to help him make some better decisions.
Oh man,
Riz, you did a story on this at Lions Wire. So
this is going back to the 4th of July, but it's important that we do address it. Jelani Tavai very nearly blew his freaking head off with fireworks. He actually posted it live on his Instagram story, which expires, unfortunately, but we got some screenshots from it. Actually, I took those from Reddit, too, so credit to the subreddit for posting those before they went away. Don't play with fireworks at home. And if you still have fireworks, don't launch them. It's July, what is it, the 14th, 15th? The window's closed, guys. Stop.
Here's something interesting, right? When I was growing up in Michigan, fireworks were illegal. Everyone would sneak over to like Indiana or whatever to try to get the fireworks.
You're at the border with Indiana because there's fireworks stores there.
Exactly. And so you do the drive to get it just so you can do it, but it was always the forbidden fruit, right? Or you knew the one guy at the party store where you could go get them from behind the counter or whatever. So you had that. I go to California, even sparklers are outlawed because the fire danger.
Forest fires.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, starting at Memorial Day and ending about August 1st was the fireworks season because they were going off like crazy all the time. And I'm like, what in the world? These things are, what's going on, people, right? And it just was what it was, and they did these big busts. I come to Florida the first year, and I'm going up to the grocery store, and I see this giant tent, and it says fireworks. And I'm like, really? Well, let's check this out. So I go in, and the guy at the tent, he's like, I go, so what's the deal? I'm new here. These are legal? He goes, oh, yeah. So here's what you got, right? Over here, this is the kids section, and it's like M80s and firecrackers and bottle rockets and stuff, right? I'm like,
the things that you insert into body parts. Yeah.
The kids section, okay. Yeah. Then here you get the, I'm okay. I want my neighbors to stick around, 5 years or something. So these would be okay. But they go up in the air and they explode kind of stuff, right? They're big.
Right.
And then at the end he goes, and this is the we need a new HOA president section. And they had like this $400 thing of multiple burst mortars that would, like, you could run the Livonia fire. No, not the Spree, because the Spree had a really good one. But you could do the Northville fireworks show with the stuff you could buy here. It was like crazy, right? Oh my goodness! So what do we do? First year, I didn't quite go give me the big one, but we got a lot of big blow up in the air ones, and we did them the first year. It was great.
Oh, you've got a great place to do it too, because your house, you have a pond, and then you have an open like cow pasture behind that.
Yeah, it's forever. It goes on.
That's perfect.
Here and there, Yeah, so the second year we did it, and this is where it gets funny, right? It was like, yeah, I guess we'll do it. We had gotten so used to it. But the thing is, when they were legal, it was literally like even this year, it was the third and the fourth, nothing before or after. That was it. It was silent.
Right.
To people, because it's like, it's not that big a deal. We can do them, right? Because it's not a big deal here. It's like drinking a 19 in Canada. They have very little drunk driving problems because it's just like take it for granted. Hey, yeah, you can drink young and be responsible and all that. For us, it's like, right? So... Yeah. The second year, we're like, yeah, we'll light a couple of them off. We're gonna hang out with the neighbors, and it just started. We started like a little bit of a tradition. So it's like, okay, I had caulked the mortar tubes to a board so that I could aim them just a little bit away from the house and let them go up over the pasture there. And I just knew that nobody around me was gonna have a problem, right? And so we go to light. I light the first one off, and they're like I said, they're the full blown mortars that go up in the air. And I always light and turn and run, right? And then get to a certain point and stop, and then I could watch them go off, right? And so I lit, I turn and run, and as I turned to look back and I stopped running, the fucking thing blew up in the tube, right, on the ground. Oh. It didn't even launch. But boom! And I was like, whoa, I'm going to keep running. And I kept it turned to keep running. But we got this really thick hybrid zoysia grass, so it's like literally, I mean, it's like 3.5 inches thick. The grass, it's just like super like deep.
Oh my goodness!
So I turned to run and I caught my foot. My family, they still make fun of me. They're like, I thought you were like hitting the deck because of the incoming or something like that, right?
Like a concussion blast blew you over.
They freaked out, right? So it's like, no more. That's it. And I'm like, I still got like, I've got as many as we've lit off so far already still available to blast off. So.
Well, see, that's what happened to Jelani. He set it down, and it was supposed to go one way, and instead it blew literally into his face. It hit just below his eye.
Ooh.
So we're lucky that our second-year linebacker is not Jason Pierre-Paul.
So don't mess with them, kids. Just make yourself smart.
Leave it to people who know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And if you're a professional athlete, for the love of God, leave the fireworks to
treat fireworks like a motorcycle clause in your
yes
in your thing.
It was scary, and it's I'm not a fireworks. I enjoyed Texas. They don't have fireworks. Everybody just shoots. I kind of like that. I got used to it. It gets old when they're shooting guns at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
2 days later, but that's not that uncommon for Houston, anyways. But just like you didn't see a lot of fireworks, but just the casual gunfire.
Yeah.
After you get over the initial shock of it, you get used to it. Like, okay, it's a holiday for something.
Next thing you know, Riz has a rifle rack. Yeah, if you're a football player, a sports person, there's 2 things you can do. Number one, your neighbors will be dopey enough to light them off for you, and you just say, it's in my contract, I can't. Or your entourage will. You just, it's in my contract, I can't light them off.
Yeah.
Sit back with a drink, relax, let somebody else take the risk and enjoy it. It ain't lighting the thing ain't that fun. Lighting the fuse. Or buy yourself a bunch of extra fuse, unroll it all the way to where your seat would be, and let it burn for 25 seconds.
That's not a work though. You know what? If you're a professional athlete, if you're earning even the NFL minimum of $450,000 a year, somebody's going to take that and like, hey man, I'll buy your beer tonight if you go light this stuff on fire.
Yeah. You can find plenty of schmoes and
be smart like that.
Yeah.
For all the players that are listening.
All right, so Jelani, we're glad and we're happy, but we hope you've learned a lesson, young man.
Yes, please do.
All right. Don't forget about Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com and Fanatics.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Fanatics is where all your Lions, Red Wings, Pistons, Michigan State, all your sports gear is at. Doesn't matter the team, pro or college. It's all there, and it's all top shelf, real good merchandise, and they give us a kickback. And Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Anything you buy from there, which you should be doing, so you don't have to wear a mask and run around, you can do it from the comfort of your home in your underwear, stand around or hang around in no pants like Dan, Riz, and I did today, and get your stuff to come to you in 2 days. Do it. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. All right, with that, we're going to remind you, I'm going to have Dan's story at the end of the audio show. So enjoy the story.
You will want that.
The post.
God, that was fun.
It was great.
That was a great night.
I'm thinking, Riz, think about it, because it's a great time of year to do it. If you can do it, I'm thinking of doing a Lions party for the Super Bowl down here, actually. So
presuming they're not in it.
Well, if they're in it, then I'm really going to do a Lions Super Bowl down here. Because the Tampa's where the Super Bowl is this year.
I didn't even know that. See?
My friend, let me tie it together for you. So, since we can't do our party this off season, I know a couple folks that will be coming down to cover the Super Bowl anyway. Some will be coming down to go. and we got a lot of folks down here. But hey, you know what? Super Bowl time. Take that Monday off anyway. Come down to Tampa and get in some warm weather in February. You'll love yourself for doing it, and we'll have a good party. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking of doing, man. Start thinking if you can make the logistics work, because love to have you again, my brother.
That'd be fun.
It's right after if you think about it, you got Shrine Game, right, Senior Bowl, Pro Bowl, and it's all kind of around here. Okay.
I can make that work as a hub.
Yeah. All right. Remember, this show needs your involvement. Use the comments in the subreddit to give us your feedback. We love it when you do that, and thank you for doing that. And don't forget about us on Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Get in there, get in the Slack chat. Season's starting soon. We're going to have a ton of Lions stuff, but boy, with the virus and the way things are going, there is not much going on. We're trying to get everything we can. We will have
one quick news thing. Jeff Okudah did sign. That's not a big deal because it doesn't matter because the slotting's all taken care of, but he is in fact in. I think he was the 4th first-round pick to sign. So
yeah, awesome.
That's your Lions news for the week.
There you go. There you go. The good news for the week, right? So we got that covered. We'll have so much more as it comes in. I'm pretty sure we're going to have another guest next week. I think we're going to continue with guests for the next couple weeks till we start getting more information about the old, what's that called? Training camp and
training camp. It's still tentatively scheduled to start. The rookies report on the 23rd. I want to say it is, and the veterans report on the 28th.
Yep.
I might be a little off on that, but it's coming up. It's only 2 weeks away.
Yeah. So we should have something, barring anything pushing that back. But we've got plenty of ideas of good content. I think we're gonna pull something else out maybe next week or the week after, another way to interact and have some fun and hang out.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
We want to keep it interesting for you guys, and look, if it's not all Lions stuff, I think there's stuff that's related and tangential that we can still have fun with. So we're trying to keep you guys entertained until we get back into the ball. All right, check us out on Facebook, Instagram. It's Facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast, Instagram Detroit Lions Podcast, and check Dan, Riz, me, Case, all of us out without our pants on at DET Lions Podcast on the Twitter. All right, where am I? Give us a call via Skype. I should have this memerized after 272 episodes.
Sorry, I distracted you by flashing my subliminal advertising for Triple Root here in Zealand, the local bar. They're awesome. Good people, and they need your support. Their amber beer is great, by the way.
They do takeout, right?
Yes, they do.
So get your takeout there, or they got, I'm sure, socially distanced eating. Go ahead and get in there and get a seat if you can. If not, take some takeout and support some good businesses. Give us a call on Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, or call us on the Lions line, 929-33-LIONS. It's 929-335-4667. And be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com and subscribe to the podcast. Why?
Hit the button. And you can do it.
Hit the bell. Will come in your ears automatically. Oh, thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, baby. Because we are your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.